If you are watching this right now because your PSA number recently came back higher than expected, I want you to take a breath and relax for a moment because panic helps no one, and fear often leads men to make the wrong decisions at the wrong time. I've spent decades as a urologist in the United States, sitting across from men in their 50s, 60s, and 70s who felt the same tightening in their chest that you may be feeling right now. A rising PSA does not automatically mean cancer. It does not mean you have failed your body, and it certainly does not mean that it is too late. What it does mean is that your prostate is responding to something, and very often that something is coming from your daily habits, especially what you put on your plate without giving it much thought. Most men are never told that the prostate is one of the most diet-sensitive organs in the male body. It reacts quietly for years, sometimes decades, until one day a blood test exposes the pressure it has been under. I have seen men who exercised regularly, avoided smoking, and still watched their PSA creep upward year after year, all because of foods they were eating almost every day, foods they believed were harmless, traditional, or even healthy. This is why today I want to talk honestly, calmly, and without shame about meat, not to scare you, not to shame you, but to help you understand how certain types of meat can silently push PSA levels higher over time, while other choices can give your prostate the breathing room it desperately needs. Let's be very clear about one thing from the beginning. Meat itself is not evil, and eating meat does not automatically damage your prostate. The problem lies in the type of meat, how it is processed, how often it is consumed, and how it interacts with inflammation, hormones, and blood flow in an aging male body. After age 50, your prostate becomes far more sensitive to inflammatory signals. By age 60 and beyond, even small daily irritations can add up, and PSA is often the first warning sign that something needs to change. One of the most common patterns I see in men with rising PSA is heavy reliance on processed meats. These are meats that have been preserved, cured, smoked, or chemically altered to last longer or taste stronger. Sausages, hot dogs, bacon, deli meats, and packaged cold cuts fall into this category. Many men eat these foods for convenience, not indulgence. A breakfast sandwich in the morning, a deli sandwich for lunch, maybe a quick sausage at dinner. None of it feels excessive, but inside the body, processed meats create a perfect storm for the prostate. They increase systemic inflammation, they introduce nitrates and nitrites that irritate prostate tissue, and they contribute to oxidative stress that forces the prostate to work harder to protect itself. Over time, PSA levels often rise not because of cancer, but because the prostate is constantly inflamed and under attack. Another meat that frequently shows up in the diets of men with elevated PSA is heavily grilled or charred red meat. Beef itself is not the villain here, but the way it is often cooked is. High-temperature cooking creates compounds that promote inflammation and cellular stress. When meat is blackened, burned, or cooked until it forms a crust, it releases substances that the prostate does not tolerate well, especially in older men. I have seen men proudly tell me they grill steak 3 or 4 times a week, believing protein is always good, not realizing that their prostate is quietly responding with irritation and elevated PSA as a result. Then there is fatty red meat consumed in excess. Cuts high in saturated fat can alter hormone balance, particularly testosterone metabolism and estrogen conversion in aging men. The prostate is deeply sensitive to hormonal shifts. When saturated fat intake remains high over many years, it can promote prostate enlargement and increased PSA even in the absence of malignancy. This is not about eliminating red meat entirely, but about frequency, portion size, and fat content, which most men are never taught to consider. Another overlooked contributor is processed poultry, especially breaded, fried, or heavily seasoned chicken products. Many men switch from red meat to chicken believing they are making a prostate-friendly choice, but highly processed chicken nuggets, frozen patties, and fast food chicken meals often contain inflammatory oils, additives, and sodium levels that irritate the prostate just as much as processed red meat. The prostate does not respond to labels like chicken or beef. It responds to inflammation, hormonal disruption, and vascular stress. Now here is the part that most men find reassuring once they understand it. When PSA rises due to inflammation and dietary stress, it often responds positively to changes. I have watched PSA numbers stabilize or even decrease when men adjusted what they ate without medication, without surgery, and without fear-driven extremes. The prostate is resilient when given the right environment. One of the most prostate-supportive protein choices for aging men is fish, particularly fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel. These are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which actively reduce inflammation and improve blood flow. Better blood flow means less congestion in prostate tissue and a calmer inflammatory response. Men who replace several weekly meat meals with fish often notice not only PSA improvements, but also better urinary flow and reduced nighttime bathroom trips. Another helpful choice is lean, minimally processed poultry prepared gently, such as baked or lightly sautéed chicken or turkey without heavy breading or deep frying. The key here is simplicity. When meat is close to its natural form and cooked at moderate temperatures, the prostate tolerates it far better. This kind of protein supports muscle without overwhelming the prostate with inflammatory byproducts. Plant-based protein sources also play an important role, even for men who have eaten meat their entire lives. Beans, lentils, chickpeas, and tofu provide protein without the inflammatory burden that certain meats carry. These foods also contain fiber, which helps regulate hormones and supports gut health. A healthy gut reduces systemic inflammation, which indirectly protects the prostate. Many men are surprised to learn that their prostate symptoms improve when their digestion improves. Eggs deserve a brief mention here, because men often ask about them. In moderation, eggs can be part of a prostate-conscious diet, especially when prepared without excessive butter or processed meats. The problem arises when eggs are consistently paired with bacon, sausage, or fried in unhealthy oils. It is rarely the egg alone that causes trouble. What I want you to understand is that PSA is not just a number, it is a signal. It reflects how your prostate is being treated day after day. When men focus only on medication or procedures without addressing diet, they often miss the opportunity to calm the prostate naturally. Food does not replace medical care, but it powerfully supports it. There is also a psychological aspect to rising PSA that deserves attention. Many men carry silent stress, especially around aging, sexuality, and masculinity. Stress hormones can worsen inflammation and affect prostate blood flow. When men clean up their diet, they often feel a renewed sense of control, which lowers stress and further benefits prostate health. This is why I always approach this conversation without shame. You are not broken. Your body is responding to years of habits that were never explained to you properly. If you are over 60 and reading food labels feels overwhelming, start simple. Reduce processed meats first. You do not need perfection. You need consistency. Even cutting processed meats in half can reduce inflammatory load. Choose gentler cooking methods. Add fish once or twice a week. Drink water regularly. These changes send a powerful message to your prostate that the environment is improving. I have seen men walk into my office terrified of their PSA results and walk out months later calmer, healthier, and more confident because they understood what their body was asking for. The prostate does not scream. It whispers. PSA is that whisper getting louder. As you age, your body deserves respect, not punishment. You do not need extreme diets or fear-driven restrictions. You need awareness, balance, and patience. Your prostate has carried you through decades of life, intimacy, stress, and responsibility. When PSA rises, it is not betrayal, it is communication. If you take one thing from this conversation, let it be this. Your daily choices matter more than you think, and it is never too late to improve how your prostate feels, functions, and responds. Small changes made consistently are far more powerful than drastic changes made briefly. And if you are sitting there right now thinking about your last test, your next appointment, or the fear that no one talks about openly, Know this: you are not alone, you are not weak, and you are not beyond help. With the right information and calm guidance, your prostate can move in a healthier direction, and so can your peace of mind.